Hey guys, and welcome to this really exciting video, because in this video I'm reviewing a newcomer to the UK market. Yes, I'm talking about Genesis, specifically the Genesis G80. Now, Genesis has been around since 2015 and it's a luxury offshoot of the South Korean brand Hyundai. But this is the first time it's coming to the UK, so I'm putting it through its paces. However, I'm not just going to evaluate this, no, that won't be my style. I'm putting this up against the class leader, the BMW 5 Series. Also, I'm comparing it with the classy option in this class, the Mercedes E-Class, and finally to another luxury offshoot, the Lexus ES. So will the 5 Series and E-Class get to keep their crowns? To find out, let's dive right in. So let's start with the BMW 5 Series. Now, the 5 Series has been a part of the BMW brand lineup for more than 40 years, and this latest version has grown much bigger than its predecessor and now matches the biggest rivals such as the E-Class for space. And as you'd expect from a BMW, the 5 Series offers engaging handling, while the 100 kg less weight than the predecessor makes it even more nimble than its size would suggest. Also, the car is very refined. I have driven one myself and I've found it to be both comfortable, as in terms of suspension and the lack of bumps, and in terms of refinement. There's hardly any sound coming into cabin and it's very relaxing, especially for longer journeys. However, one thing that I've always found a minor side or a negative for the 5 Series is that its styling is always conservative and it doesn't really change between generations. So this latest looks like a slightly swollen evolution of the last model, which is not a good look. I mean, Mercedes changes design significantly around every couple of generations, as with the latest E-Class. You will see that in a bit. However, otherwise from the front, BMW looks aggressive, especially as this model in the pictures is the M550i, which is the model below the full fat M5, so it has larger intakes and aggressively styled bumper. Towards the side is like a normal cylinder, there's nothing special going on, and at the back, as part of the facelift, BMW has updated the tail lights. They have updated the headlights as well. They look cool, but the update on the tail light is I believe much better. Also points to BMW for not putting fake exhausts on its cars, because they just ruin the look of the car and just mean your money's wasted. Moving on to the interior now, I will talk about the design later, but first let's talk material quality and overall feel. Now, this is one of the most high-tech cabins of this class, and in many cases of the class above. I mean, the materials could easily have been found in a full-fat limousine. The leather is soft to touch and nice, and the seats are comfortable. The plastics used are high quality, the metals are just high quality as well. And the steering wheel, although many people complain it to be too fat, I find it to be just the right thickness, because it just fits in your hands and you feel like you're holding something which means something, which is significant. As for design, well, that's where I'm not convinced. Now, this design is pretty much the same as the previous generation 5 Series, apart from one or two tiny changes. And another change that has been made as part of the facelift is that the touchscreen infotainment system has got bigger, and that's pretty much it. And I do sincerely believe that BMW needs to update its interiors in order to remain competitive. I mean, there's no shortcomings in terms of quality, but in terms of design they need to pick things up. The new screen now is 12.3 inches in size, and BMW was the first brand to offer wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. This car does have it. The standard speakers are quite good, but if you want the Harman Kardon option, you can select that for £820. However, if you want even more sound quality than that, there's a Bowers & Wilkins Diamond Surround System, though that costs £4,220. Now in the back seats, BMW have stretched the car by 36mm, and this means there's more than enough space for tall passengers to stretch out in comfort, and the rear bench is wide enough for 3 adults, although the large transmission tunnel situated in the middle of the car may eat into foot room. Now the boot capacity is 530 litres. It isn't bad, but it's 10 litres behind that of the Mercedes E-Class, which has 540 litres. So if you go for the 530e or 545e plug-in hybrids, you'll minus 120 litres of space, and then the boot just is useless. However, the Mercedes, if you go for the plug-in hybrids and that, it loses 140 litres, so these two cars are evenly matched. Now, as for engines, the most popular 5 Series engine in the UK is 520D with 2 litre 4-cylinder diesel, and it produces 187 horsepower and 400 Newton meters of torque. It's matched to a slick shifting 8-speed automatic transmission. All 5 Series have that gearbox, to be fair. The diesel 2 litre will do 0 to 62 in just 7.2 seconds, which is not bad at all. Then there is the 530D, and this has 282 horsepower, and it takes 5.4 seconds to 62 miles per hour. Now the diesel models are far better than the petrols. However, the 530e and 545e are both impressive alternatives as plug-in hybrids, and they have the added bonus of up to 37 miles of electric only driving. And then the final model is the M550i, the one in your pictures. It has 4-wheel drive and a healthy 523 horsepower, accounting to 0 to 62 in just 3.8 seconds. Now the 5 Series range kicks up with £36,525 520D and rises to almost £70,000 for the M550i. Okay, now the 5 Series is a tough car to beat. What will the Mercedes E-Class do? Now, the Mercedes E-Class range kicks off from £37,545 to £58,565. And the E-Class is a beautiful car, especially this latest facelift, which has changed the front and rear ends of the car, and also the refinement is top notch. I've experienced the car myself. Hardly any sound comes in, and also you don't feel bumps intrude into your comfort. And as for styling, I like the way Mercedes shapes its rear bumpers. They look aggressive and elegant at the same time, and the headlights, as I've already mentioned, are quite nice. And from the rear end, the car does look more like an A-Class saloon, but in my opinion, those taillights do suit the body of the car. However, one thing that doesn't suit any Mercedes is fake exhausts. Well, as for the interior, you have 2 sort of screens that look like one, and they dominate the cabin. I mean, the first thing you know and the only thing you will know are those screens. However, you must not forget the rest of the cabin, as it's fabulous. The materials are not actually up to the 5 Series standards, but the design is far better, and I especially like the new steering wheel Mercedes has brought in as part of the facelift. Now inside, the Mercedes is similar size to its rivals. Here the 5 Series, Lexus and even the Genesis, and that means the room It's more than enough for adults and it's comfortable. And again, similarly with the 5 Series, the transmission tunnel does eat into foot space. And as for boot space, the E-Class has 540 litre boot and it's joint class leader, and it shares its podium with the Jaguar XF. And overall the boot is packaged nicely, wide opening, and it's easy to load stuff into it. As for engines, the range kicks up with the 2 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel in the E220D with 191 horsepower and 400 Nm of torque. It covers the 0-62 sprint in 7.3 seconds while topping out 149 miles per hour, and all engines are mated with a 9-speed gearbox. And if you want extra performance, you can get the E400D4 Matic with its 3 litre turbo diesel straight 6, has 335 horsepower and 700 Nm of torque, and it gives it a 4.9 second 0-62 sprint. And if you don't want to have a diesel, you can have the E454 Matic 3 litre 6-cylinder petrol engine. Produces 362 horsepower and 500 Nm of torque and reaches 0-62 in 5.1 seconds. Now the top of the line normally class, excluding the AMG E63S, is the E53, and it has 529 horsepower with a 48 volt mild hybrid technology to get to 0-62 in 4.5 seconds only. Well, now I do think the E-Class is an excellent car, but not as excellent as the 5 Series. Let's see what the Lexus does. So, the Lexus ES. Now this is a left field choice in the market, much because the German rivals are so good that people don't want to change to Lexus, which is a luxury offshoot of Toyota. However, this car is important in this video as Genesis is another luxury offshoot of Hyundai, so it has to be the Lexus, and maybe it's even better than German. So for perspective, this car is important. And as for design, there's nothing wrong with the car. The front end sports a familiar Lexus face with the grille and the headlights and the wing mirrors as well. They all look Lexus. You're not mistaking this for anything else on the road. And on the back, it's a similar note as it sports familiar Lexus styling cues as the taillights and the overall shape of the rear end. However, this car also sports a horrendous case of fake exhausts. Oh my god. As for the interior, that's another place we go. Really? That's it? I mean, it just looks like a right old mess, nowhere near as sophisticated as the BMW or the Mercedes. It's just bad. I mean, even the material quality mostly actually is quite good, but some places you can see it's not up to standard. But the main thing is you think what in the name of God is going on with the design. And don't get me started on the infotainment system. It's even worse than the ones you find in Toyota, and it shouldn't be like that. It should at least be better than Toyota, as this brand is meant to be the luxury part of the Toyota brand. As for rear seats, the space on offer is less than key rivals already mentioned. However, it's not bad by any means. The legroom is good, headroom is good for front passengers, but for rear passengers headroom is an issue, especially for taller passengers. And as for the boot, it's the smallest among its class of 454 litres. That's 76 litres less than the BMW 5 Series and around 90 litres less than the Mercedes E-Class. And also it's so funnily shaped inside. have weird cutouts, so it's not as usable either. And as for engines, the ES is available with only one single powertrain, a 2.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol engine matched with an electric motor and battery pack to give a total output of 215 horsepower. And as mentioned, there's a single gearbox, that's a continuous variable transmission CVT, and it accelerates from 0 to 62 in a leisurely 8.9 seconds, and this is much slower than the slowest BMW and Mercedes rivals, and the top speed is also a modest 112 miles per hour. Now that you have all the information, you can see that as far as the cars compared up till now are concerned, this is the worst. And now the moment we're all waiting for, even me is waiting for, has come. The Genesis G80. And this is it. And because it's a newcomer to this class, I'm going to analyze it in more detail than I have the other cars. And to start with, the G80 looks premium, and that is important. The striking combination of the G-Matrix grille flanked by slim quad headlamps marked at the front, and while in profile and at the back there are hints of Aston Martin, and that's just the right amount of poshness you need. And the taillights mimic the headlights at the front, so it's kind of a symmetry as well, and thank God it has proper exhaust pipes. This means that to start with, it's putting up a good fight against the class leaders, the 5 Series and the E-Class. Also, the gorgeous alloy wheel designs also make this car premium, and the car's badge, something as small as a badge, contributes to premium factor. Now it looks like premium badges of Bentley, so you do get that in there, and in the mind you conceive that this is a good car. And despite that coupe look, it's still a saloon. However, the boot is smaller, smaller than the Lexus at 424 liters, and to be fair, it should have been larger, but Genesis chose to go with style over substance. And as far as the interior goes, I just want to sit there all day long. I mean, apart from the steering wheel design, everything else is designed to the finest detail, and what an impeccable detail that is. The large 14.3-inch infotainment system stretches proudly on the top of the dash, while below it is just a clean area, no fussy buttons and lines like the BMW. Below that is another woody area, just a single button of the hazard lights, and then below that you still get physical buttons for your climate controls, which is important because it's quite fiddly to try and use set your climate while driving on a touch screen. Also, the material quality is absolutely lovely. It's on par with the 5 Series, and you can see that it's on par with the 5 Series, and also the sort of the digital driver's display may not be modern looking, but it still works and it's still effective. As for the seats, you can see that those seats are nicely cosseted, and they will keep you comfortable and in place when going through corners fast. And like Jaguars of old, now Jaguar doesn't do it. When you start the car, the gear lever rises out from its place to just greet you and say hello. And as for the back seats, well, they are a good affair as well. I mean, the picture currently available is not very clear, but the car has more than enough room for 2 handles at least, and a third one might be able to fit in there for shorter journeys. Now we come to engines and price. Now you get you will be able to get 2 engines with the G80, either a 2.5 litre turbocharged petrol engine or a 2.2 litre diesel, and an all-electric version with 310 miles of range is coming later this year. Now the diesel costs from 36,100 and the top of the range petrol will cost from £45,800, and that 2.5 litre has 300 horsepower and 422 newton meters of torque and does 0 to 62 in 6 seconds dead. And now finally for the verdict. Well, I believe the Genesis is much better than the Lexus ES, and it feels very Germanic, and that is a high compliment. And well, I'm not going to decide that it's better than the 5 Series or E-Class. However, what I am going to say is that it's going to give them a tough competition, and we may well see quite a lot of these cars on our roads in the coming months and years. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe and share. See you next week. Goodbye.